Good morning, everybody. Great to be here. Martin Johnson, and I'm the CEO of AlzeCure Pharma. I'm here to introduce AlzeCure to you, talk about what we are doing, the projects we are driving, the science we are building those on, and our goals and progress in 2021. As a company, we are working within the fields of Alzheimer's disease and pain, areas of huge unmet medical needs. We were founded as a commercial company in 2016 out of a research foundation which was funded by the Swedish Alzheimer Fund. And we are a very experienced team within drug discovery, development and commercialization. We are based here in Stockholm at Karolinska Institute, and the projects we are driving, we are doing on 3 different platforms. NeuroRestore, which is a novel, first-in-class treatment for cognitive disorders, such as Alzheimer's disease. We have Alzstatin, which is a preventive treatment to treat individuals so they don't develop Alzheimer, or if they do, that the Alzheimer progression is slowed down. And then we have a platform called Painless, where we have a couple of pain projects. As a company, we are listed here in Stockholm at Nasdaq, First North Premier Growth Market, since 2018. We have a market cap of around 300 million and a cash position of 78, as reported recently. Our business model is that we are a research and development company. Our goal is to drive our project into early clinical phase and then to out-license or partner. And through this, finance up our other projects through upfront payments, milestone payments, and then later on royalties. We have a pipeline that we are very proud of, and all our projects are small molecules. We have 6 projects that we are driving, 3 in NeuroRestore, where we are focusing on cognitive disorder, Alzheimer's disease, 2 in Alzstatin, preventing Alzheimer's disease, and 2 in our Painless platform. We have 2 projects that are in clinical phase. In NeuroRestore, cognitive disorder, we have ACD856, focusing on Alzheimer's, which now are in phase 1. And then this spring, we also ended our 1B study in our Painless platform, ACD440, against a neuropathic pain. And we had a positive readout on tolerability and safety and early efficacy signals. And now we are preparing this project to go into a phase 2 study. Our primary focus area is Alzheimer's disease, and we know it's a devastating disease. It costs society more than oncology and cardiovascular diseases together. And the patient population here in Alzheimer's disease and dementia is expected to triple in the coming 30 years. So why is this? The reason is that we have an aging population and people are living longer and longer. And the longer you live, the higher is the probability that you develop Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's is not only something, as we know, only is devastating for the patient, also the spouses and the family. So on every patient, we can say that there is at least 1 to 2 more persons who are really affected seriously. If we look at Alzheimer's disease, we know it's a progressive and it's a lethal disease. We can divide up Alzheimer's in 2 parts. We have pre-symptomatic and we have symptomatic Alzheimer's. In pre-symptomatic Alzheimer's, we don't have any symptoms, but this disease is building up. And this due to, as we think, toxic proteins called amyloid beta. And these are building up in the brain and harming brain structure, neurons, synapses, etc. And today, there are no treatments which are treating so we don't develop Alzheimer's disease. And then we have symptomatic Alzheimer's disease. And symptomatic Alzheimer's disease is when we have symptoms. And we can feel the symptoms like problems with language, problems with memory, problems with learning, and over time also on body functions. And today there are some treatments, but these treatments aren't very effective and has a lot of side effects. So we can truly say there's a huge unmet medical need. This summer there was an antibody for Alzheimer's disease which was approved. If only 5% of the US patients gets this treatment, the sales as forecasted in Nature a couple of weeks after the approval said that if only 5% of the patients are treated with Aduhelm, as the drug is called, that would be a sales of $17 billion US. 17. And it would make the product the second biggest product in the US. And this is only in the US. And then we know that the patient population is tripling over time. So if we look at Alzheimer's disease, this is what you can see is a healthy brain. And this is what a brain looks like when you have mild Alzheimer's. And that's the indication for the antibodies. We don't want to get to the stage of mild Alzheimer's. We need to prevent it much earlier because, as you see, the brain is broken down. And this is something that we truly are working on at AlzeCure. We want to preserve a healthy brain, but we also want to help patients who have developed Alzheimer's. So how are we attacking this? We are attacking it with our disease-modifying therapy called alstatin, which is focusing on the toxic amyloid proteins. And here we are developing an oral treatment. And then we have NeuroRestore, which is a symptomatic treatment for the patient who have developed Alzheimer's, but also other cognitive disorders. And here we are improving neural function with learning capabilities, memory capabilities, etc. So let's learn more about NeuroRestore, and I will show you a short video.
The electrical impulses transmitted along the projections of nerve cells result in the release of particular messenger molecules, so-called neurotransmitters. These molecules transmit signals from one nerve cell to the next at specific contact points, or synapses. The dysfunction and loss of synapses in Alzheimer's disease correlates strongly with the clinical symptoms seen in the affected individuals. AlzeCure's project, NeuroRestore, improves nerve cell function and enhances their ability to communicate with each other, including improving synapse function.
NeuroRestore. And as was mentioned in the film, what we are doing is that we are enhancing the effect of neurotransmitters called BDNF and NGNF. And why are these important? These are important for the health of the signaling in the brain with regard to brain cell survival, plasticity, etc. And this really matters because this is so central for cognition, learning, and memory capabilities. So how are we doing this? We enhance the signaling of BDNF and NGNF. And the thing is, we are focusing on Alzheimer's disease, but we know there are so many other diseases and conditions where this effect also can apply, such in Parkinson's disease, in traumatic brain injury, and sleep disorders. So this is really a treatment which can, or a project which can potentially be used in several disease areas. And we have already, in preclinical model, shown that we can reverse the memory and learning capabilities. And then we have our project, our Alzheimer's disease modifier, where we are working on to try to prevent the development of Alzheimer's disease, or at least delaying it. So how are we doing this? We are focusing on A-beta-42, which is the protein which is thought to be the main cause of the toxic fragments and plaque building up in the brain. And we are doing, and A-beta 42 is really coagulating and building up these toxic fragments. And how are we doing this? We are doing it by going in and having a modulator on the enzyme which is cutting the protein. And we are modifying, so instead of producing the lethal, the toxic A-beta 42, we are instead modulating it and producing other proteins. And some of these proteins are actually thought to work against the coagulation. And here you see the amyloid cascade, which is the process building up these toxic fragments and plaques. And the antibodies are focusing on oligomers, protofibrils, and plaque. What we are doing instead is that we are focusing on the source of the problem, A-beta 42, to see to it that these fragments aren't building up, or at least not building up to the same extent as happens when you are in the disease mode. Our second focus area is within chronic pain. And chronic pain, there is also such an unmet medical need. Chronic pain leads to actually more suicide than depression. Chronic pain is the most common cause of sick leaves. And chronic pain has also led to the opioid crisis in the US, as we know, which is reversing the mean age of Americans. So we can really say that here is a huge unmet medical need. We need more efficacious and safer treatments. And here we have 2 projects in our painless platform. We have a project ACD440 against neuropathic pain. And here we have about 30 million patients, and about 70% of these patients aren't experiencing adequate pain relief. And then we have project TrackA-NAM, which is in research phase. And here we are focusing on osteoarthritis and other severe pain conditions. And only on osteoarthritis, there are more than 300 million patients. And the patient population is growing because of the aging population and overweight problems. And our project ACD440, which we have in clinical phase, where we had as I mentioned before, a positive readout. We are now having confirmed the mode of action. We have strong scientific belief, and we are now preparing to start a phase 2 study and are going to the US to meet with the FDA with regard to the treatment protocol. So, when it comes to neuropathic pain, it is a huge market. Patients aren't well served, and already today there are about there's a sales of around $11 billion US, and the sales is expected to grow to 25 in 2027. So, a huge unmet medical need. Looking at the milestones that we set out in the beginning of this year, we said that we were going to have a readout of our clinical study, painless ACD440 for neuropathic pain, and this was achieved ahead of time. We also said that we should have a readout of our clinical study, SAD, for NeuroRestore ACD856, focusing on Alzheimer's disease. Also, this was achieved. And now we are about also set up the goal to start our next clinical study on ACD856, the so-called MAD study. And here we are now recruiting patients and lining up to start very, very soon. We have the approval from the authorities and everything, so we are about to start. We also had the goal to select a CD for our pain project, TrackA-NAM, and also to file for a 2A study. And we are well positioned for this. So why is then AlzeCure an interesting company to invest in? I would say that we are really targeting areas of huge unmet medical need. We are doing this with a strong team who has extensive experience within the business and a track record. We have platforms with first-in-class properties. We have parallel investments, as you saw from our pipeline slide, with follow-up programs. We also are targeting areas with multi-billion market opportunities. And also, as a company, we are now evolving into phase 2, showing that we can develop, identify targets, we can develop molecules, and we can take them through preclinical and into development. This we have now been showing. So this is why we think that AlzeCure is a very interesting company. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you.
Speaking of competition,
Yeah.
Biogen.
Yeah.
They recently launched and secured an approval for their what is called Aduhelm.
Yes.
Medical drug. So how does this affect your position?
It affects us immensely. It's so positive for us because...
It is positive.
It's very positive, and the reason is that FDA has now defined the regulatory pathway. What is demanded to get an approval? This they have done. So this has really stimulated so many other pharma companies really to invest in the area. But what it also is doing is that these companies are now building up their portfolios of projects. So they are now scouting for additional projects that they can put in. And here, AlzeCure is very well positioned with our Alzheimer's project.
Thank you. What is the next step for you now?
It is really to start our next clinical study for NeuroRestore ACD856, focusing on Alzheimer's disease. It is to have a good meeting with the FDA, good advice, so we can start up or file for the phase 2 study, and then also to go on and choose a CD for TRK-NAM, our pain project. So exciting times, and yes.
Lots of important work to be done.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.